Okay, guys, good evening. Hopefully, you guys are out there and you can hear me. If anyone can hear me, type something to say that you can hear me. So this is the moment of truth. The first time I've used the broadcasting software, so I'm hoping that I'm. Hey, someone said hi, Tim, so that's a good sign. Hey, you hear me as well. Hi, Rapisis. Nice to see you here. Okay, well, let's load up some software. So just quick introduction. Let's get rid of that. So we're going to be playing today some jackpot sit and goes on full tilt poker. Just some micro stakes, maybe $1, maybe $2. We'll see how we get on. So we'll just launch the software now. Okay, log in and remember all of my various million passwords. This would be an embarrassing time to forget my password. Okay, we've logged in, that's great. So I'll just bring that into the center. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, today we're going to play some $1 and $2 jackpot sit and goes. The emphasis today is just going to be on a bit of fun, just seeing how this format plays out. We're not going to delve too deeply into the strategy. We'll maybe leave that for later sessions, but just to get a feel about how the gameplay is at these micro stakes, how these games work with the multiplier, and just sort of talk about some basic strategy. And I'll look out for your questions. Hopefully there's something there that you can type coach question if you want to say something specifically to me, and I'll look out for those. So let's just have a look. Okay, we're 1 minute away from half past. I don't want to start the first game until we're half past, just in case anyone comes on and says, you've already started. This is not fair, I missed all the excitement. So with the jackpots, but I'll tell you what we can do. We can open up the lobby, so let's go ahead and do that. So there we see the lobby for jackpots sit and go. And then we have here our register now button. We're going to click on that. And you get another little window pops up. And here you can choose how many games you want to play. This is similar to the option that you have on PokerStars. You can choose 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to start with one game because there's plenty to talk about and I want to be able to answer your questions as well. And yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, 2030. So let's jump right in. So there's our table. So let's get that out of the way. And we don't need that either. All right. And we can just make this nice and big so you can see everything going on here. Okay, super. So we're just playing for $2 here. You saw the spin. And we've got our first hand here, Jack Deuce. You can see the player in the big blind has got a mobile phone notification. So I'm going to try a limp here with the Jack Deuce. It's not really strong enough to raise, but it has some high card value. And we might assume our opponent will be passive here because he's playing a mobile phone. We've got to hit a deuce, so we're going to go right ahead and just bet here. We'd be stabbing this board with anything. Once we get called, his range should be either a 9 or a deuce or an ace. We beat some deuces, so we can have another pop at this. If we check, we would just have to check fold. So I'm going to bet in preference to checking and check folding. And we get one more call. That's a pretty bad river for us. We now beat nothing. So if he checks back, then we hopefully split. If he bets, then he either has an ace or a 9. It'd be sort of strange for him to bet a 9 now, so to bet an ace now. So I'm a little bit suspicious of this. But it's the first hand, we don't know anything about him, so let's just go ahead and give him the pot. Okay, so hopefully we should get some hands popping up from our HUD. Ace-Jack on the button, definitely going to be strong enough to raise. And we're going to go for a min raise. Every time we're in position, we want to be making a smaller raise. We get shoved from this guy. I'm definitely going to be calling this one off. We're ahead of his 3-bet range, so we'll just call it off. We do see a weaker ace. The suited ace, nothing too unreasonable in his 3-bet shove there, but yeah, maybe a little bit heavy-handed there from him. So we go ahead and mark him as a weaker player. That 3-bet shove is okay if he knows a lot about my range, but probably in a vacuum, not so great. And he's shoving here for 8 big blinds, so we're not going to call off with Jack 7, so we go ahead and fold there. Okay. So we've got another monster hand here in the small blind, deuce 5. We get a button raise from this player here, so we'll just go ahead and fold. Let's just drag that HUD out of the way. Move this over here. What's your min raise range from the button without reads? Okay, good question. So we're definitely going to raise every ace, and we're going to raise a lot of kings, probably all the way down to king 7, and probably almost any suited king. Certainly going to be raising this suited king here, king 7 suited. Obviously heads up is slightly different from three-handed. When we're heads up, we're going to need to play even more hands. And we have a min raise here. I'm not going to 3-bet here because you can see we're 32 big blinds deep here. So ace deuce as a 3-bet. We could 3-bet bluff. I'm just going to go for a call. And we'll just check on this board. It's a pretty good board for ace high. Villain checks behind. We can go ahead and lead the turn. One advantage of leading here is that we're less likely to get bluffed. Another is that potentially you might even get him to fold a better ace than we have here. So normally if your opponent checks behind on the flop, they usually have some showdown value, and it's a decent option to take that away from them. Okay, so 8-4 suited, definitely going to raise it up. And we'll get back to these default raising ranges. So yeah, definitely opening all hands down to king 7. Queens I'd open probably down to queen 8 offsuit. And we probably won't defend this 5-9 offsuit, so we'll just go ahead and fold that one. And jacks probably something like jack 8 or better. We have ace king here, obviously going to be willing to get this one in, but we start with a min raise. What we don't want to do is make a bigger raise here with our stronger hands. We get a very small 3-bet here for 20 big blinds effectively. We definitely want to be getting the money in. I'm hoping this is a strong hand from him, but rather than just calling or making another 4-bet here, I think we just go and push and hope he's got a strong enough hand to call. Obviously if he does fold, that's fine. We just pick up the chips, and so that shows that he can 3-bet bluff. Hello, Stanimir Katev. If I said that wrong, which is almost certain, I apologize, but welcome to the coaching. So we got queen 10 here, definitely another raising hand, so we'll raise that up. And if we get a min 3-bet here, we would just go ahead and call. This is a close spot. If we knew a lot about this guy, we could maybe think about making a light call, but we have a good chip advantage, so we're not really ahead of the 3-bet range that we expect him to have here, so we can definitely go ahead and fold that one. I'm trying to move my hat up, but it won't let me. It's a bit tedious. Never mind. So just go ahead and fold there. Queen deuce, I'm going to try a limp here because the last couple of raises that we've made have resulted in him making an aggressive move. So we're going to just try and slow it down. So he makes a very big isolation here, very big raise against my limp of 3.5 times. It's probably a lot more than he needs to make it just to find out whether I will have a real hand. Obviously don't want to call this bet here with queen deuce. 7-6 suited, pretty nice hand to play. So if there was a min raise, we would have just planned on calling that. It connects pretty well. And with the 5s now, we're definitely going to be willing to get this in. We could definitely open shove, that would show a profit. But I think we're going to start with a min raise and see how we get on. Just get a fold there. And we can see here his raise still is 60% here. So we can definitely defend this 6-8 suited here. Don't flop much of anything apart from a backdoor flush draw. So we'll just be check folding on this board. Okay, so we did the jacks. We did the min raising jacks. Potting it here, incidentally, is really not great with any hand here. Even if he has a bluff here, he doesn't need to bet this much to find out whether I have hit this board. I'm not likely to fold any part of this board if I did hit. So he's, let's say, spending a lot more than he needs to. Just go ahead and fold there. So yeah, we did the jacks. 10 probably would raise hands like 10-8 offsuit from the button, 3-handed. Many suited 10s, maybe down to 10-6 suited, something like that. Obviously easy raise with ace jack and calling it off. And again, getting it in if he tries any 3-bet here. Just calling it off here. Yeah, and this is nothing we can really do about that. We can't get away from our hand. So hopefully we just get lucky, which we do. Okay, so good start. Okay. All right, so we'll say no to that. And because we've been successful, let's try a $2 jackpot sit and go. We're not going to go all the way up the limits, but we'll definitely just be going between these $1 and $2 games today. And we'll just I'll just finish up with the min raise range and then go from there. So yeah, and then so those would be the hands. Most suited hands you can open. So here's a queen in the range of queens that I said. So we'll definitely open this one up from the button. So many suited connectors we can raise from the button. Again, 3-bet shove here. Just need to go ahead and fold here. And then obviously all pairs will be raising from the button. Okay. And from the small blind, I'll go, this interesting spot, this guy instantly shoved the small blind and instantly 3-bet shoved this small blind again into this guy who's 3x'd it here. So I'm expecting Dream On to call off here. I'm going to get out of the way with our 7-3. And this guy's probably not a great player because it's acting kind of instantaneously here. And we'll see if, so what we also see is another, let's say, mistake that you can make in these games, which is investing too much with a steal. So he's investing 60 when 40 would do the same job, really, and then find out whether his opponent has a better hand. So because I'm in the small blind, I'm out of position, I'm going to raise a bit more here. So we'll just go to 50. You can raise as a min raise from all positions. It's usually a matter of taste, but I like to make it a little bit more, just as slightly as a disincentive. And also, by making the pot a bit bigger, the starting pot on the flop, we reduce our positional disadvantage. We have a c-bet here on this board. It's not that connected. Obviously, we have to fold to a 3-bet shove. And, I mean, we don't know what this means, this min raise here, but we can't really continue with just king high, so we just have to let him have it. Okay. So, queen 4, not in the opening range. We've lost some chips as well, so we're relatively short stacked. So a raise fold is going to hurt us more than it would hurt someone with a full stack here. So we maybe need to be a bit more careful about what we raise. Okay, so M. Kane says, are these sit and goes profitable in the long run? How many buy-ins should I use for bankroll management? Good question. Let's deal with the 6-7 suited first. We've got 17 big blinds, so not calling a small blind shove, even though we think that this player's maybe a little bit erratic. I do think these games are profitable, especially if you can find ones where the rake isn't too high. I think the rake is 5% across the board on full tilt poker, as opposed to 6 or 7% for the microstakes on other sites. So definitely, yeah. So we're going to raise this 5-7 suited here because we have to make something happen. We can't sit and wait for a monster. Get called here, and there's a good flop for our hand. Obviously, hoping to get it in now. But we're just going to keep with the same continuation bet size that we used last time, obviously hoping to represent a similar range hand. And we'll just go ahead and be willing to bet call on the turn. If he has the 8-9 here, it's obviously just bad luck, or maybe a better 2-pair. Yeah, and just shipping over the top here, and we'll see what he's got. We'd assume he's normally committed here, so just has an open-ended straight draw here. So he doesn't get there, so yeah, not probably the best plan with his hand. I think he can just check call there and even check call the turn. We get a limp from buttons, so I'm going to go ahead and mark him as a weaker player. Okay, we just check our 10 deuce here. We don't want to be shoving this hand because we can assume that the button's probably on some sort of tilt, having lost their hand, so just going to see a flop. We hit a pair, and we've got about 2 pot-size bets, 2.5 pot-size bets. So first of all, we're going to start with the check and see what our opponent does. Checks back. Really good card for us on the turn. I think I'm going to bet here something just to protect my equity of my deuce. If we get shoved on, we have to think about it, but probably going to have to just call it off and hope he doesn't have a king here. So let's see the bad news. Yeah, just garbage from him, so need to fade a few outs, but there we go. Okay, good stuff. All right. How many buy-ins should I use for bankroll management? Okay, that's a good question. Really open-ended question. The reality is I think no one knows quite how much variance is involved in these games. I would say for the micro stakes, 100 buy-ins is probably fine because you're unlikely to be grinding these games to make a living at those stakes. So, you know, if it let's say it doesn't go well, you're not going to be, let's say, finding yourself unable to make a living. So I would probably say 100 buy-ins for the $1 and the $2, and then moving up to 150 above that. Some people have said, you know, you might need thousands of buy-ins. I mean, I think if you have a 1,000 buy-in downswing, you're probably going to be giving up poker. I mean, that would probably be the least bad thing you could do. So We'll just go ahead and open this king 6 of diamonds here. He's very easy to open any suited king. We're not going to call off the 3 bets, so just go for a fold there. So yeah, something like 100 for the oh, the phone went. That's been embarrassing. Just ignore that. I can't. My wife's coming to rescue it, so that's good. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and try limp stab with this 4 deuce. Get a fairly quick check from our friend here. That's nice. We flop trips. So running good so far this coaching. Yeah, just make a stab here. We would bet this with everything because it's so unlikely to hit. So we're going to be consistent and bet it with our nuts as well. Hello, Tony PMM. Okay. What are your ranges of flatting a min 3 bet heads up? 3 max by a loose passive or a nit rig? Gosh, that's a complicated question to digest. Let's start with a limp with this 10-5. Not really strong enough to raise, but we don't mind seeing a flop because we can make a straight with a 5 and a 10, as everyone knows. So we'll go ahead and just stab this flop. If we get any resistance here, we're just going to go ahead and give up. Don't need to fight against the check raise from him. Okay, well, if we get a min 3 bet heads up, it's very hard to fold any hand. So for example, this hand, if I get 3 bet, I'm just going to get it in. But if we had a hand like 6, 7 suited and we get min 3 bet, be mostly calling that. If our stack was much shorter, let's say 8 big blinds, well, 8 big blinds would just be shoving pre-flop so it wouldn't rise. When it's 3 max, it's a little bit tougher. We just have to call it off here and hope he's got a weaker pair. Well, he has 2 of the cards, so just see if we can win another flip. Okay, that's one way to win a flip. So, okay, really good start here. This one, incidentally, was another 2x multiplier. So we'll just, yeah, let's just play another one of these. All right, great stuff. Okay, and we've got the same player that we had last time, so hopefully we can use the information that we had about him. I would guess this guy then is some sort of a regular, so we'll just change his color marking. And he's open shoving here, so we're going to go back to our original idea that he's not so great. I don't think there's really any hand that you should be open shoving for 25 big blinds. If you had pocket aces here, it would be a real way to miss value. And if you had a less strong hand, let's say ace 5, you're really never going to get called by a better hand, so you're just going to be isolating yourself against better hands. So just go ahead and fold the jack deuce there. Definitely not strong enough to play. So far just 2x multipliers. So we get a walk there, that's always nice. And king deuce will go for a limp stab here if we get the chance. Again, shoving all in first hand. One thing that I've observed that's quite useful is I think a lot of recreational players playing this format are really, when they click and they see the the spinning wheel, they're really hoping for that big multiplier, that 1k sit and go. And if they don't get it, they can be feel a little bit upset about that. So we could talk about 3 bets here. Now we've got a perfect 3 bet hand. We're obviously happy to get the money in. What I tend to do is a little bit unexploitable, but it's exploitable rather. If I've got a hand like this, which is unpaired and where I may miss the board, I'm usually just 3 bet shoving. Now, if I have a hand like jacks, queens, kings, aces, maybe even tens, get a pretty light call here. By the queen 10 bet's a pretty good flop for his hand, so only a jack will save us and we don't get there. So yeah, I don't like this call off by the queen 10. It's not really ahead of my 3 bet range, but that's okay. We've had the luck on our side so far, so we're not too bad about it. Yeah, a suited 9 here for about 2 big blinds. Just going to have to get it in here. Almost any cards. I've min raised here, and amazingly this player folded, so I think maybe it was a misclick by him, but he should be getting it in there with anything. Queen 5, yeah, it's pretty close. It's probably a fold. We have some small fold equity, but I'm just going to go ahead and fold and hope I have a slightly better hand the next hand to call it off with. And that's one good thing that can happen. These guys get it in. You can definitely see this guy's wanting to get his money in very, very light indeed, but he gets lucky. So we'll just see what we can do with our last 70 chips. Going to have to call it off with the jack deuce here, but we get a walk again. He should be putting it in with most hands there. Yeah, so just coming back to yeah, king 8, we're just again going to be getting it in here. this time I'm going to make the right to move and just get it in. We get it in dominating, so that's good. And with hearts as well. So fingers crossed. Okay. So we just chop here. So when they see that they don't have that big multiplier game, the 1K game they were hoping for, they, maybe lose interest in the game and just sort of do whatever they want. Like you can see this guy getting his money in very light there. Obviously happy to get it in with a high suited queen for 4 big blinds. Yeah, we have decent suck out chances here. That's a good start. So no king, no ace. There we go. Okay, so we have a few more chips now. And the thing about these jackpot sit and goes is that you won't make much of a profit when you get these just 2x multipliers. Easy call off here with the ace 4. I mean, I say easy, but he's lost a lot of chips here, so I think he can be getting it in pretty light here. So we just make the call, and yeah, we are ahead again, so that's good. Just trying to get our money in ahead in these games. We don't have to worry about ICM considerations. There's no bubble factor like there would be in a 6 max or a full ring. So yeah, against players who just lost interest, we want to just do the best we can to effectively minimize our losses when we're in these 2x multipliers, so that when we do hit those higher multipliers, that's where we make our real profit. So you don't want to treat these games as the 2x multipliers as being worthless or pointless. You have to try just as hard, and then partly you're then gaining practice and experience. A6 here for 10.8 big blinds, easy open shove, and let's see, we got called by this player, he's all in, so we want to fold from Cherepov D, really. He obviously has half a hand here, he does call off with the king 3, okay, that's good because they block some of each other's outs, yeah, but okay, we're out of there. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking we were all in there, but it was Rimsky that was all in there. So, okay, so we've managed to chip up a bit now, back to our starting stack. We're going to be shoving this 10-8 suited in from the small blind, obviously folding to a button shove. Definitely happy to get the king-queen suited in here for 15 big blinds. I think this is probably strong enough against these rather erratic players to just raise call here. Can definitely get Rimsky 3-bet shoving on us. They both get it in here, which is definitely not what we need. I think the hand against these two players has too much value to fold here. This would normally be a fairly easy fold, but we've seen what these players have been wanting to get it in with, so I'm just going to make a slightly light call. Yeah, we see Jack 5. Obviously, the kings from this player is perfectly reasonable. This Jack 5 is just a gambling call, so lots of diamonds on the end there, so that worked out well for us. So now we just have to fade the heads up. With 7's obviously happy to get it in again. Running good so far. Okay. So yeah, keep the questions coming. So yeah, how you perform in these games with the single multiplier really will determine your overall profitability in these games. If you can kind of, as it were, hold your ground, make some kind of reasonable profit. These ones maybe just running slightly, below 0, then you'll be able to make a profit in the long run. So we're just going to shove here for 10.5 big blinds with the suited king. Heads up, fairly easy shove. He's going to call close to any 2 because we've seen what he does. So we're not worried about getting called in. Normally when you get snap called like that, you're not too happy when you've got king 4 suited. But against this player, we don't mind that too much. Okay, so yeah, let's just keep going. So far, I think we're 3 for 3, right? Okay, so a little bit of a pause there while the players load up. We've got another player here on a mobile phone. So we're back to another 2x multiplier. So far, I haven't hit any big multipliers, so hopefully we can change that. So you might think it's a bit unfair of me to mark this player as a weaker player just based on the fact that they're on a mobile phone, but it really is the case that you do see much less good play on average, and first thing that this player does is shove 25 big blinds all in. So that shows that these reads that we make are often correct. Now this is a very legitimate shove. Really super bad call off with the king 9 suited, but of course he gets lucky because that's the way with online poker. So yeah, this is what we were saying, like this hand ace queen, obviously this player is entitled to want to get the money in with that hand. She should really be doing everything she can to get the money in, but when shoving like that, you normally don't get called by worse hands, and also you're missing value. You're missing giving someone the chance to 3-bet shove with the worst hand. So we just raised the king 6 here, suited king, heads up. Let's play a lead, so we're just going to make a small raise here. Just so it's an easier way. We do have some showdown value, but yeah, we're going to check back here. Mostly when it goes like this, it's normally a 5 here. It could be a flush draw, but we'll just check down. We have some showdown value even with king 6, so we'll just see what he's got here. It looks like we're winning that, so hopefully, yeah, 10-6. So I guess he has here backdoor diamond draw. I mean, I don't hate the lead from him. I don't think in the long run it will be profitable, but once I've raised here, he really needs to just let go of his hand. So, okay. You make this look easy, 3 in a row. Okay, yeah, I mean, definitely some luck involved. 8-4, we're going to go ahead and muck this one. We can think about what range would we like try and limp stab on the button. Hands like probably even 8-5 off would be starting to be a hand that we would want to play in position. 8-4, I really think it's a bit too weak. We're not going to be defending hands like 6-3 offsuit out of position, so just raising the king 10 up. Not much explanation needed for that. Get another call, flop a pair. So against this player, now that we've seen that he will play 10-6 suited out of position, our 10 has much more value than it would do against another player. So I'm going to make a fairly large continuation bet and probably be willing to get it in here. There are lots of draws like Jack 9 or worse 10s that he could have. And we're happy to see a free flop with our 6-8 suited, so when he limps the button, we'll just check it. Okay, so we have a pair here, so probably start with a check here. We're happy to call a bet and see what the turn brings. This is a pretty bad turn card in terms of being able to call more streets. There are so many semi-bluffs that he could make on the river. So we do have a straight now, so yeah, let's just make a bet here. And it's more of a blocking bet, thin value bet, trying to get called by a 1-pair hand. Obviously, if he raises here, he did have the nut low heart there, but I think that's probably better than just checking there, because when we have to check call there, we're mostly facing better hand. Okay, ace-8 offsuit, so definitely raising up, and not going to call a 3-bet shove, but so far so good. Okay. Yeah, another lead from this guy. Now we have a lot more showdown value, so I'm just going to go ahead and call here. There's our 8. This is almost the nuts now against this player, so I'm not going to be folding at any point. If he does have the queen or does have deuce 7, which is often what you see these kinds of players having, so be it, but I'm not going to be folding here. So we'll just see what he does here. Yeah, I'm just calling here and get the bad news. Yeah, he did get there on the river, but I think if he doesn't river the straight, he's probably betting that as well. We'll just get it in here with the king 8, so now that he limps, we just chip it back there. And he limp call pocket 3s, which is okay, of course, but he's better off shoving that, because when I shove into him, he almost always faces 2 overcards, so he's not often getting his money in so great. Yeah, let's play a game. Okay, so we lost one there. Okay. So, Tony, you said it seems that there are a few regs who like to exploitatively shove only premium cards in the first hand. Perhaps they think the fish, frustrated by the low multiplier, will call very light. Do you think such a tactic is viable? Well, I definitely think it's plus EV to open shove ace queen like we saw in that other hand, but I don't think it's the optimal line. And always in poker, we don't want to just find a line that's good, we want to find the best possible line. So you can obviously always justify, open shoving aces for any amount of big blinds, but that's not going to be the line that gives you the most profit in the long run. So let's take a limp stab with our Jack 4 suited. I think Jack 6 to Jack 7 suited I'd open for a raise, but Jack 4 suited has playability, but we don't necessarily want to play a big pot. And once we get raised, I'm just looking to fold. So what this tells us is that we probably can't limp stab against this particular opponent. 7-8 offsuit, a little bit close, we'll just let that one go. So yeah, I wouldn't use that tactic, just because another thing that you'll find with these spin and goes is that they really are all about the post-flop game. The players that can negotiate post-flop well will make you know, a decent profit in the long run, and those that really are only happy pre-flop are not going to be able to last, because you can't always risk, you know, 500 chips to win 30 chips, which is what you do when you open shove ace queen. And so because that doesn't work other than if you have a top 5-10% hand, you're forced to min raise and place in poker. So if you just open shove those really strong hands, you're even going to get even less, let's say, practice at playing poker. So okay, what do you think of the min bet on the river with the idiot end straight on the flush board? Okay, yeah, I think he's definitely missing value. I mean, I think once he's taken that line of just betting with air on the first two streets, he obviously picked up. We're gonna raise this up if we get there in time. There we go. So again, just making it a little bit over a min raise from small blind. Yeah, once he's taken that line of min betting, you know, two streets, I think he should go for value, because I can have anything from, you know, two pair or just a top pair there, and you know, he really wants to make me pay. He's got lucky, so I think he should definitely make a really sizable bet there. Obviously, I'm not meaning to attack here. Fairly easy fold with the 9-10 suited. 6-4 suited, a little bit close here. Let's just let that one go. I mean, they probably think fishes will be less cally post-flop when they miss than pre-flop. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I think against very weak players, you still always make most of your money post-flop. Even in 25 big blinds, it's just people making very light cooldown. And that's one of the things with these short stacks of 25 big blinds. It's actually, you know, it's hard to make really big mistakes pre-flop as long as you have a sort of vague idea of what you're doing. You know, let's say, I mean, we can see here's min 3 bet here. You asked earlier about min 3 bets. We're going to be folding here, but there's obviously no hand that the button has that he should be folding. It's 180 in the pot, and he needs to call 30. So he's getting 6-1 there, so he just has to call anything here. And obviously with the stronger stuff, just go for the 4-bet shove. Yeah, and just a jam here. Again, not really good, whether he's got 3 kings or flopped full house or pocket jacks, whatever he's doing there, he's really making a mistake by overbet jamming the board there. Okay, 5-9 offsuit. We're going to go ahead and fold this one. This player in the big blind's fairly aggressive. You can see here, raise first in. So if I limp, he's likely to raise. And if I raise, I can't call a 3-bet. So we need a slightly better hand there. 10-4 won't cut it either, so we'll just go ahead and fold. Let's play tight for a few hands, see what happens. Ace-5, okay. Yeah, so against the min raise, I'm going to go ahead and ship this now. Steal is 100% on a small sample. We have a suited ace. We need to pick up some chips, so let's just get the money in and cross our fingers, hope for a fold. If he wants to call us with ace-3 or ace-4, I'm okay with that too. All right, good. We get that one through. That's nice. So that's another thing that you definitely want to do if you can. If you have the option of playing with a heads-up display like this, definitely going to give you more information. This is close with the jack deuce suited. I'm not going to go for the limp stab because, as we saw, this player is likely to raise me here. Not really quite strong enough to raise. So once again, just going for the fold there. We're out of position, so I think it's a close spot, but probably better to fold and wait for a better spot. Poker players love to say that, don't they? Everyone's always waiting for a better spot. So 3x open raise here from small blind. Definitely, again, I think it's a lot. What it normally means is that this player is trying to tell the other player that he's not going to fold to a 3-bet shove. Now, that can be useful, but if your opponent 3-bet shoves on you anyway, then what do? Because you've told them that you have a strong hand and you're not folding, and they've said, I'm 3-betting anyway. So then really what they're telling you is they have a stronger hand. So you've made a declaration of strength, but you didn't really follow through on it. So I think these 3x raises are definitely a leak here. 10 jack offsuit, we can definitely 3-bet shove this hand. Well, not a 3-bet shove, but just shove over the limp here. This player hasn't raised any hands though, so I'm a bit cautious about this. Let's just make a small raise here, just to try and gain the initiative in the hand. And if he actually limp jams over the top, I'm actually thinking of just folding there, but just to put him on the back foot there. And 4-5 suited. Against an aggressive player, I'm actually going to shove this hand. This is not something I do very often, again for the reasons that we talked about, but this hand is going to be hard to play, so I'm just going to open shove this. Definitely, it's an unexploitable shove. We do get called, and it's a really good call by him, incidentally. This is a nice call, so yeah, no problem with that at all. I shouldn't have any very strong hands when I shove 14 big blinds, which is one of the things that we talked about earlier. We said when you make a really big raise, you're making a mistake, because usually you're trying to over-represent your hand. You're trying to say, I've got a really big hand here, but no one believes you. Let's get rid of that table, because much as we like those two players, we don't necessarily want to watch them fighting over our buy-in. Okay, so 8-3 suited. Yeah, again, let's try a limp stab here. Every player, a new player, if we don't have any notes, we're going to treat them as a new player. So I think it's often worth just trying this limp stab. Just a little bit over a min bet here, and obviously folding to any action. And yeah, I'll just have to check fold here. Some people do like to float these ace-high boards with the whole range. Yeah, we don't beat anything here, so I'm not going to try and bluff him off 7 or a jack. And if he bets here, that's okay. He's just, 7. So I don't think we need to sort of barrel there. People are usually fairly honest in those limp pots. If they have a pair, they call one street, and if they don't have anything, they usually fold. And when I say if they don't have anything, I mean, if they don't have some sort of reasonable draw or something, you will get the more ambitious players making a play when you limp stab, but not so much at these very low stakes. So definitely worth trying. Okay, so suited ace, we would definitely have called a min raise there. 10 deuce there. Yeah, I'm not going to be Doyle Brunson for you guys, so I'm afraid I'm just going to have to go and open fold. Okay, 8-7 suited. So you asked what's our min raise range? Definitely going to be opening 8-7 suited, 7-6 suited, 5-6 suited, 4-5 suited. Probably going to be raising unless I have some information that the blinds are very 3-bet happy. And against this kind of 3-bet here, although we want to see a flop with this hand, we haven't seen anything from this player yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold. If I call, the pot will be 214. It'd be pretty much committed with any kind of flop, and against a lightly 3-betting range, I'm not going to be in great shape, so just go for a fold. Okay, yeah, looks like we've got a good number of you guys out there, so hopefully you're enjoying it. I haven't had too many questions, so that's kind of you not to overload me. You obviously suspected that I would be struggling. So here we are, Queen 7 suited, definitely good enough to open up from the small blind. Let's make it 45 for a change. If we get 3-bet again, it will be annoying, but we just get a call. Yeah, not much for him on this board, so we're definitely going to be stabbing this. I'm just going to make a half pot bet. And if we turn a 5, which will give us a straight draw, or a 9, we're going to barrel on that board. Because again, if we get called on 8-8-6, we might give our opponent credit for floating us. Queen 5 suited, very close, right on the edge here. But Kodak hasn't played a hand yet, so fold to steal is 100. So we're going to assume that he folds quite often to steal. So we just make a slightly lighter raise than we normally would. Definitely want to use the HUD if you've got it. Use the information. This player, I mean, he's not sitting out, but he looks like he's very, very tight. Yeah, let's just mark him as very tight. Go ahead and fold the Queen 4. So when you have a very tight player, you're allowed to change your default, defending range. So let's suppose you had a hand like, 8-9 offsuit, which you would normally call against an average small blind open. You're in the big blind. But the player has stats which are sort of, 10-10 over 100 hands. You're allowed to fold there. You're allowed to make use of the information that your HUD is telling you. So, okay, let's raise this 7-10 offsuit up again. We're just using the fact that Kodak seems pretty tight. We're going to be raising much wider on the button now. Until he starts reacting to our light opens, we're just going to keep right on doing it. The 3s here, Since I folded to the last small blind steal, I'm going to assume that I would encourage him to steal more. So if he stole there, I would just chip the pocket threes there. Alright, so a little bit above a min raise with the king 6 suited. It's too strong a hand to fold. We could go for a limp stab, but I think this player seems fairly tight as well. 10-9 suited, easy open again. I'm going to assume that this is still broadcasting because I think some of you would have said something or someone would have commented if there was no sound coming through. So just fingers crossed that I'm not just talking into space. Okay, so min raise and the 3-bet shove by Kodak here. So if the button cools off, we'll get to see, but my assumption would be that Kodak's 3-betting range here is really pretty strong, just based on this very tight stats here. I doubt this is a bluff or a semi-bluff. I would expect to always see a strong hand here. Hi, sound is fine, it's working fine. Thank you, thank you. I need that confirmation, guys. Okay, ace-9 suited. Yeah, definitely strong enough to just raise call here, so just make it 70 and be willing to get it in. Has enough playability as well, so that if he does call, it's not like we hate to see a flop. If we had a hand there, like maybe ace deuce or pocket deuces, something like that, that kind of hand that would just not really ever flop anything too great, then we're much more likely to just open shove there. But with the ace-9 suited, we can hit so many nice boards that we're not only are we happy to get it in pre-flop, but we don't mind seeing a flop. And like I said earlier, anytime you see a flop against inexperienced players, you're likely to, there you go, as I said, Kodak's just not going to get his money in like that. I'm not saying that Jav should ever be like race folding ace-queen, but I'm just not surprised to see a weak hand there. So yeah, anytime you can get players who are inexperienced into post-flop, then that's where you make your money. So what's our strategy against the tight player? Okay, we're going to raise very wide from the button and defend very tight when he raises, because we're expecting to see him waiting for a real hand. And I say that, and of course he calls the first hand, so it's nothing like making me look stupid. Yeah, we have some backdoors here, so we'll just make a stab. Hopefully we can get him to fold 2 hands, like a Broadway hand like Queen Jack or something like that. So off we go. Okay. Loud and clear in Montreal, still good. Okay, lovely. Okay, still here, still watching, still learning from Jimmy Chu. Okay, and okay, Exayala sees nothing. Okay, that's not good news. I'm hoping that's just you though. I don't mean to be mean, but hopefully everyone else is okay. Just maybe reload your coaching player, just see if that works. Okay, so like we said earlier, can be folding most hands when human raises. You don't wait for the, Tony says he doesn't wait for the HUD stats to converge, but just detects via mandatory player search at the start of the tourney. Yeah, so we're just going to min raise the 5-4, like I said. I'm just going to keep raising wide until he starts defending much wider. That player is 4-tabling and auto assume is in it. Yeah, I totally agree. That's a good question. That's a good point. Let's click find player and see what we can see. So here's our find player table. Let's just bring that in. You can see that this player has chosen to restrict the display of information about the games I'm participating in. It's more likely that when a player does that, they're a regular player, because recreational players aren't really bothered who sees them playing and where. So yeah, this guy definitely could be a reg. So reg or not, he's playing fairly tight overall, so we're just going to keep with our min raising strategy. Okay. Okay, hi Mark, got 4 tables on yours, 1 sit and go, 1 NTT, and 1 pool table. Okay. Yeah, so just folding to the 3-bet shove. Like we said before, we know what a 3-bet shove means from this play. This would be great, incidentally, for him to be using his image that he's built up and just start 3-bet shoving. Lie to me, but you don't usually find that. So this is another spot that we talked about here. We could just open shove this ace-4 here, but I think this player is exploitably tight overall, so we don't need to take that unexploitable line because we're better off taking an exploitable line, which is just to raise that. Obviously with the jacks we're going to get it in here. Yeah, 16-bit blinds. We could definitely 3-bet to like 200. It's close. I think I'm just going to get it in and hope that he's strong enough here when he raises that he calls it off. We'll see if I'm wrong. He's obviously has half a hand, so didn't quite get the call. Okay, and just keep raising. If a player mixes formats like spin and goes and MTTs, he's most likely a fish, even if he's two-tabling. That is a good observation, Tony. I would generally agree with that. Mixing formats is, yeah, I mean, it's you're more likely to do that if you're playing poker for fun, let's say that, yeah? So queen 6, this guy you can see that he's loosening up now, starting to open more buttons. I don't want to defend queen 6, but we definitely can start defending a few more or less playable hands. With the pocket 3s now, you can see that the blind's just gone up as I started to say that sentence. So now we can see we have like 12 big blinds just going to be open, shoving the pocket 3s. They're not really strong enough to play a flop. We don't want to encourage this guy to 3-bet shove on us, even though we assume he's mostly, tight. Yeah, for some reason I can't move my hard stats. And he started shoving as well, which is another sign that he's a sort of reg or a semi-regular player. So let's see what we can do. Ace-8, yeah, just going to be... Yeah, we could try an induce here against him, knowing that he's a reg. But, yeah. Yeah, let's just chip it here. Game in hand like Queen Jack suited. We'd be slightly happier to raise with the intention of raise calling, because when we do hit a flop, we have a lot more playabilities. 5-3 offsuit, definitely not strong enough to raise. So, I don't know about adding another table. I'm thinking that there's enough to talk about with your questions, but if you guys desperately want me to open another table, I can do that. And we'll see how many more mistakes I make playing 2 tables rather than 1. Yeah, 5-10, easy fold for 12 big blinds. Not much playability either. 1 is fine, thank you. Arcanist 23, that was my gut instinct as well. Okay, so yeah, we're basically in a shove war here. So in the long run, if I have any edge here, it will be just because maybe I'm shoving slightly wider than he is, or maybe he's calling tighter. But there's not going to be much edge for us here, for either of us here. We're just, both waiting for hands here. He definitely has like nearly 2-1 shit lead now, so he has a fairly significant advantage here. So all we can hope is that he just has, ace 3 here and calls it off. He should call basically any ace here now. So any ace. What should he call here for 9 big blinds? Any ace. Definitely, probably king 9 or better. Maybe king 8 suited. Easy call for me here. So now we're going to get to see what he's shoving here for 10 big blinds. King Jack. Ooh, so painful to be outkicked just by 1, but that is a good flop for our hand. No dice. Okay. So he had the best hand. Deserved win. Okay, let's load another. Okay, 12, 8, 200. Come on, 200. One time. I almost thought that's such a fade. I almost thought it was going to be 200. That would have been exciting. Can we see you play a few 5 to 10 games as well? I'm under strict instructions not to go near the 5-10 games this week, but please stay with me over the next, hopefully 5-6 weeks, and we will be moving up the limits. So we want to be fair to our sponsors, as they say in America, and we want to give all of our partner rooms a fair look in. So we're going to be playing this kind of format over on PokerStars. So I'm going to overcall here with the 6-8. So let's go for a lead here because we have top pair, and in general this button limp suggests a passive player. So we don't know if he's going to go ahead and bet. When he raises here, it's definitely ugly. There's not much we beat. We definitely don't beat any traps, but we could beat some bluffs here. I think it's a close spot. You can just get it in here, or we could just go ahead and fold. And I'm going to go ahead and fold here. It's a pretty tight fold, but we know nothing about this guy, so I think I'm just going to trust that is a declaration of strength. So we only beat a bluff there. So yeah, so we're gonna be playing some spin and goes at PokerStars, and we're going to be playing some Twister games over on Titan or iPoker, and we're going to play micros on each of these of each of those sites, and then we're going to go up to the mid-level buy-in, as it were, the 5-10s on full tilt, and probably the sort of 7s sevens, maybe the 15s on poker stars, but we'll just see. So these guys getting it in. Yeah, king nine, a very nice hand. Often you see people overcalling here with this, but there's no need to call light here. We should assume one of these pairs has a pretty strong hand here. So ace queen, ace four. This guy's going 4 one time, but no luck. Okay, pretty tough when you have two pair, 25 big blinds, and you still lose. Jack 9 easy open from the button. We get snap shipped on from this guy. Not much we can do. We've seen him show up with ace queen the last hand, so we just have to give him credit for a hand there. So from being super passive in the very first hand of it, he's now gone quite aggressive. So well, let's just see. And I'm just going to keep raising. I'm not going to assume that just because he 3-bet shoved on me that he must have it there. So let's see here. We have a pair. Definitely going to be c-betting here. And we'll see what happens here. Okay, we get a call. Pretty bad turn card, so I'm going to just check back here and see what the river brings. Yeah. Probably need to bluff catch here, because there are some flush draws. He could have an 8. Overbets here, wow. That's pretty tough. Yeah, okay. Let's see, what do we beat? What do we beat? We beat the busted flush draw. You wouldn't necessarily bet. Well, it looks like he wants me to fold. I'm going to make a call here, and we'll see whether we're right or wrong. Yeah, he did have he had an 8 there, so that's really strange. Just if we just bring that, just see if we can find that hand. How do we get that hand? Yeah, so he had a pair here on the river. So I don't really know why he overbet shoved there, because just because I check back the turn doesn't mean that I have him beat. And I don't think he needs to overbet shove the river. He can check the river. He can either block bet. We're going to jam on him now, I think. Let's just make an ISO and let's see. Yeah. We'll see what he's doing this with. This is slightly easier to play. Okay, so we have some backdoors here. So just a bet here. And then if we get any kind of, not much we can do on this turn card. It's a card that really improves his range. We assume that he calls the range with any pair, any flush draw. Hands like, 6-7 would also call this flop with, the gut shot. So we have to just check fold here, however painful it is. Sometimes we're going to get bluffed off here, but there's not much we can do. Yeah, so just come back to this hand. I don't think he needs to overbet shove. I don't think you just should assume that he's always behind here. So I would like to see just a normal block bet there on the river, something like, 80 or 90 if he's block betting, or just to check and then decide based on what I do. Okay. So this time if he limps, I'm going to shove, because that will be 3 limps in a row. 6-5 off. Let's try a limp ourselves, see what he does. He does instantly checks there, so that's a good sign. I'm going to go ahead and bet here. Okay, Arcanus 23 says, I see that your HUD is filtered so that it changes when it's heads up. Yep, that's true. Do you think you'll ever get a sample and plays this way because you have way less hands? Very true, good point. One option is to just double click and then you get all the hands from the thing. And I think actually it's a good point that you make, and I think for these spin and goes, we probably want all the information that we've got on a player rather than just a heads up portion. So let's double click that and we'll keep it double clicked there. Hopefully you can still see that even though it's red. So I think, yeah, for small samples, having more information is better than having filtered information. Once you've got, and he just snap shits there, I think I'm going to call this one off. Usually, if he had a really big hand, let's say aces, kings, queen, he might be thinking about it a little bit longer. Of course, I don't beat. There are a ton of aces I don't beat, but I flip with many pairs here, so we'll just call it off. And we do see a worse ace there. I think a really big ace there will take a little bit more time to think about it. Maybe we'll be trying to get me to call. When someone does it really quickly, often a sign that they kind of just want you to fold. His 3-bet shove there is fine. He doesn't usually get called by a worse hand when he 3-bet shoves there. So he can definitely call that hand. I think it's kind of probably bottom of 3-bet shoving range. Yeah, suited 6 here. I think for 1.5 big blinds, we just get this in here. There's enough money in the pot that we can more or less get it in with any 2 cards. So there's a 3. So okay, good. Okay, back to our winning ways. Let's get rid of that HUD. Okay, yes, let's go. All right. So I need to look at my watch. I have no idea what time it is. This has been so involving. Okay. Okay, wow, we have only 7 more minutes. And that is sad. This has been good fun, actually. So let's see. Oh, we've still got this guy. Oops. Still got this guy with a red HUD. We don't want that. Okay, 5-3, we're going to go and fold. And we have the wrong HUD here completely. So hopefully Hold'em Manager 2 will catch up eventually. You don't find that a HUD is useful at all in 3-max sit and goes as opposed to manual notes. But heads up so different from 3-max that I do separate stats by the number of players. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I think, I definitely think you could play these, this format without a HUD and still make a profit, because a lot of it's just about observation. A lot of the things that people are doing that we've seen today have been sort of fairly clear mistakes. Just check here with the Jack 5. Anytime like this, so we're just really happy to see a free flop here. Our hand is definitely strong to check call, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and leave the turn for value. Slightly more than half pot, because there are quite a few bad river cards. That's one of them. So I think when the flush draw missed, I'm just going to check here and induce, and he snap checks back, so we maybe missed a little value. We'll see what we were up against there. Could have gone for a thin value bet there, but you can see he did have a 6-high flush draw. Again, he had actually a gut shot here with the 4-3, so not such a bad call from him. So yeah, just a bit over a min raise with the Jack 8, blind versus blind. I think this player's again on the weaker side here, so just want to be willing to play slightly more hands, even out of position against weaker opposition. Just again, c-betting here. And just take it down. When we have these kind of high card boards, depending on the player's range, we should normally be c-betting. If you got called, if you made a button raise and a reg, sort of fairly tight reg player called you, and they were out of position, and you had that king-queen board, you'd be a bit less happy about the prospect of getting the to fold, because that would hit their edge. Yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with you entirely, Tony, when you say the samples are too small for the HUD to matter anyway. I definitely think even after 10 hands, you can get some kind of an idea on someone. Like, if you see, we've got this K1AH player, I can't say his name. He has VPIP of 80 after 5 hands, and he's got his mobile phone. And then we've got this other guy who's not played a hand yet. So I would say Savilman is going to be, in general, tighter. I'm going to just over limp with the ace-5 here. We could isolate, but again, if we assume this player is slightly tighter than average, we put him on a stronger range for limping, so we don't want to isolate ourselves against better aces. We have some showdown value here, so just checking it down. And we're not going to be check calling with our ace-high. Sometimes we have the best hand here. Deuces. Okay, so my read is right on this player that I don't like the limp. I'm definitely not justifying the limp. But what I mean is he's not limping pure trash there. He's limping a hand which is, in his view, too strong for him to fold, but he doesn't want to come in for a raise. So, given that, we've seen that he's tight overall and doesn't like playing hands, just like pure trash. I'm going to be stealing slightly wider against his big blind than I would against maybe this player's big blind, because he's going to call fairly dry board. So just again, small c-bet here. It's a dry board, so not too many draws. So if he's going to fold, he's going to fold to 40 or 50. So he may as well save chips here by making a smaller continuation bet. Definitely, that's another thing to watch out for, is players who, let's say, bet really big on a dry flop and there's nothing to protect for. It's another league. So again, we have this limp from this player. I think a7 is a little bit too strong here not to raise it up, so we're just going to make a raise here. One advantage of raising this hand is that when he does call, we're both going to miss the majority of time. Like on this board, yeah. I mean, maybe he has, 7, 8 suited. Maybe he has top pair, top kicker, who knows. But given that we both missed, I've got the initiative in this hand because I raised pre-flop. So I have the ability to represent this board, to represent that I had a king pre-flop, king jack, king queen, ace king, whatever. And so I'm going to be betting this board, assuming he checks. Again, just slightly under half pot. And I expect that if he missed this, even if he has a hand which has value like pocket threes or Ace 10. It's tough for him to make the call because we're the one telling the story about having the good hand here. So we get to continue that story on the flop. If we just check back that Ace 7 pre-flop, then he can be the one making the first bet on the King 9 board. And even though we feel like we may be getting bluffed, not much we can do about it. Yeah, so this guy's super loose here, 12.3 big blinds he has. I can definitely jam the Queen Jack, but I'm going to make a slightly exploited play. I'm going to call it off if he 3-bit shoves. It's just that I want to see a flop with this hand. With the overpair and the outs against this wide range, I think we're just going to be getting it in here. So just bet 70, but we call it off. See what happens. Yeah, and I'm going to just go ahead and push the turn here. Pretty hard for him to call without a 10 or a king there, and his range is wide enough that he can have an 8-9 hand, he could have ace high. So we're just using the power of our open-ended straight draw there to generate the extra fold equity that we need on the turn. Hopefully, I mean, okay, in an ideal world there we're getting him off a 7, so yeah, it's good. Okay, so what? Yeah, okay, I think this is going to be the last one, guys. So we didn't have the 1K jackpot, which is a shame, but there we go. This guy's shipping, so we have to fold. Only seen the last 50 minutes and have really liked the format. Hope it's being recorded for future release. I also hope it's being recorded, and I hope it wasn't my job to record it, because that would be really embarrassing. 9-3 offsuit for 7 bigs. We cannot shove this hand, especially against a player who's loose. You see VPIP is 45, raise first 0. So he's passive, likes to see flops, not likely to be folding there. 10-7, you could raise here. If stacks were deeper, I wouldn't mind raising this hand because it has playability and we have a tight player in the big blind. Problem is I expect the small blind to be feeling quite desperate now and looking to get his money in with a wide range. And I don't really want to play for 215 chips here with this hand. So we're just going to make a fold there, live to fight another day. Yeah, so Queen 6 suited. So one easy thing you guys can do, if you want to try and think about how much additional equity suitedness gives your hands, is you just take the kicker and add 2 to it. So this hand is sort of equivalent to Queen 8. Probably wouldn't be calling a shove even with Queen 8 here, especially not now. The tightish guy is getting his money. And let's see if I'm right. Let's see if he does have a real hand. There we go, aces. There you go. So stats help. Raise first in is 14, and this guy shows up with aces. So, okay, definitely use your stats, guys, if you have them. 9-4 off, yeah. So interesting. Let's try and use this read then. This guy's tight. He doesn't want to play out of position. So I would not normally raise this hand up, but I'm going to raise it against him because I expect him to fold way more than normal, probably way more than he should be folding. So I'm just going to keep raising like we saw against the other passive player. I'm not going to defend loose against him, especially not when he ships. But we do need to use the reads that we have on players. Let's double click here. So we need our reminder here that he's a tight player. So once again, really bad hand, the 3-9. We don't really want to see a flop. We really want him to fold, but we're just hoping he does fold because everything tells us that he will fold most hands here. And as soon as I try to take advantage of him, he ships it in my face. So that serves me right for raising up garbage. Don't do that at home. King 9, yeah, that's a pretty good hand. So definitely calling a min raise, but we get a walk there. So yeah. 4-6 suited, yeah. Ooh, do we want to push it? How much can we push it against this guy? Let's just keep raising. Let's just keep raising, yeah. I mean, I think most of the time this guy's going to have a hand when he 3-bet shoves. It's clear also from the way he's playing is that he doesn't want to play post-flop because he's shoving his own hands first in and he's mostly folding or 3-bet shoving against us. So that's an argument for actually trying to get him into a pot because that's where he feels least comfortable. So see if we can flop a flush and get paid. That would be nice. Okay, there's the check. We have some backdoors here. An 8 gives us a straight draw. 4 gives us a straight draw. Spades gives us a flush draw. We have an overcard. So definitely stabbing this flop. I'm expecting to take it down almost always, except when he's hit this board, which he does. There's one of the cards that we were going to barrel. So we're going to stick with our plan and make a bet here. 85 should do it. And then this way, either he can fold here, or we can hit our straight, or we can hit a jack and then we probably check back. There's the jack. So now we have to decide, do we want to value bet our jack against a hand like 6, 7 or queen, or do we check back? It's close. I definitely think you could make an argument for betting here, but the overall read on this guy is that he's tight. So if he starts hero folding lots of, top pairs here, it's hard not to bet. Let's just bet 100. So it's against my instincts not to bet. So just bet 100 and see if we can get a crying call. We're giving him really good odds here, so we're wanting him to call. If he check shoves on me, I'm just going to be snap folding here. I guess he just always has a straight. So we're hoping he can call here. Yeah, it's close spot, close spot. That's the call. That's what we wanted. Okay, so let's just see what he did there. He's probably hating life now because in his eyes he had the best hand all along, and it's really unfair. There's the shove. 5-8. Okay, yeah, so he called the flop with the open ender. Sorry, you can't really see that. Let's just make that a bit bigger. There you go, 5-8. So he called the flop with the open ender. Totally reasonable. On the turn, he turned a pair. Again, called. And then on the river, he was just kind of committed there. So definitely a good spot to get value. Here's our kings. Yeah, we should be shoving here. But again, I'm going to just try and see if I can induce him light here, because he may be on tilt there. So even tight players can get tilted and do things they wouldn't normally do. So we don't really want him to fold if there's a chance he's willing to get his money in light. Okay, no luck with the kings. Deuce 9 offsuit. Yeah, that's garbage, and it's going in the muck. Savilman. I'm guessing this guy is from England. United Kingdom. Look at that. Because he's got the Wayne Rooney face there. Okay, King 9. Yeah, we could induce this, but I'm just going to go for the ship. So we get called by better king. Boo! Boo, boo, boo. Poker is so unfair. Okay, so he limps. We've got 6, 7 off. We're just happy to see a flop with this hand. We don't flop anything. So we just check fold. Now we have an open ender, so I'm going to take a stab at this pot. And not a card I can really rep here, so we're just going to give up here. See what he had. Jack 9, yeah. Okay, so he was never folding that, especially now he's seen how we play. Okay, so we have King 6 here for 7 big blinds, so definitely a shovelable hand. Let's hope he hasn't got another better king. Get a fold there. Ace 5, yeah, we're getting it in with the Ace 5. Especially as we know he doesn't like to play flops, so he's going to be shoving pretty wide. And then the pocket 7s, once again, now I'm just going to be consistent and shoving my whole range for 7.5 big blinds. You do see people inducing with these hands. I don't really like that for less than 10 big blinds. Yeah, and this one, too strong really to fold. This is a funny spot actually, because I don't expect this guy to ever not have a strong hand here. Because he's 3xing and he's tight. Unfortunately, I've only got 8.5 big blinds, and he could be doing this with a hand like pocket 10s. So I think we're just kind of obliged to get the money in here, even though we know he's calling and we know he's strong. Yeah, it's like even if we saw that he had ace 10 here, we'd kind of almost have to get the money in. So he has diamonds, so he takes it, and we're out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm just going to see if I can just see how those games went. I'm just going to try and bring my HUD in. Here's where we started. Yeah, let's just see how we got on today. Okay, total buy-in. Net winnings $3 down. I think I lost one before we came on, so we were around break even for this session. But okay, that was good fun. Hope you enjoyed that, and please come back next week where we'll be doing another site. I think we're going to do Poker Stars Spin and Goes next week. If we don't, it'll be Twisters on iPoker. There's a feedback link in the coaching player to